Okay, it is 6:37. We're going to call the regular council meeting to order for Tuesday, January 17th, 2023. Teresa.
Mayor Don Barnard.
Here.
Ron Merriman.
Here.
Sharon Hendry. Charlie Campbell.
Here.
Nicole Shook.
Here.
Bob Orsini.
Here.
Ryan Green.
Here. If we could please stand for the invocation by Reverend Van Winkle.
Let us pray. Merciful Creator and Provider, you have given us life and with it the desire and drive to fulfill our purpose. Grant that as we endeavor to do the same, these proceedings may be blessed with an abundance of wisdom and grace as your everlasting peace descends upon all who are here gathered. Let your providence abound, and may our actions tonight be so that they honor you and bring glory to your name. Help these leaders act in a manner consistent with the well-being of those they represent, not for their glory, but yours. Also, bless those who labor to improve and maintain our city, as well as our sisters and brothers who serve as first responders. Finally, having been empowered through these provisions, we pray for an extra measure of patience so that what is shared and discussed might be received with listening ears rather than being dismissed by closed and hardened hearts. All of this we ask in your most holy name. Amen.
Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. To begin tonight, we are going to have a presentation from the Johnstown Monroe Schools with Superintendent Wagner and Board President Swager.
Second, I'm going to set up my computer.
Thank you, Dr. Wagner, for coming tonight.
Sure. Thank you. Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for letting me be here tonight. Swager's here with me, and what we thought we would do is just kind of give you an update on state of the schools, and then any questions at the end. Have a relatively short presentation, but just kind of want to tell you what we're working on. So first of all, this year, one of the things that the Board of Education has focused on is really looking at working strategically or thinking strategically. So there's board objectives, and you all have a copy of this. And they focus really in 5 areas, and I'll just quickly go through these tonight. The first one is on visioning and continuous improvement, and then I'll go right down the list here on some of the others. We have communications, policy and governance, instruction/teaching and learning, and then resources. If you go to the next slide, I wanted to show you a little bit about one of the things that we're asked often is what's next for the Johnstown schools. And obviously, you know, our partners with the city really share in this, but this is a compilation you can see from 2012 to what we are in our current fiscal year, what our enrollment looks like. So right now, we're just a shade under 1,700 students, and you can tell people when we look at this, this is pre-Intel. So this modeling does not include anything that can happen with Intel or any other supporting businesses that will be here. We say that because we really don't know all of that yet. So obviously it's going to be a lot with, you know, growth and residential growth. This slide may be a little hard to read here, but you can see it on your paper to compress it. But one of the other things that we look at is how full are our buildings, and now after the reconfiguration this year, operating about 68% capacity, and you can write down the line. I don't need to read it. But the concern gets to be the high school. You know, the building is built and it can have an addition to it, but depending on enrollment and growth, we're going to have more that we have to look at, of course. If you pull across horizontally, we also have, looking the best that we can, a couple of years forward and then all the way through the 29-30 school year. So the concern specifically for the high school, again, pre-Intel, starts to show us that we're going to be at operating capacity at that high school about 100%, somewhere probably in the 26, 27, year. We'll see how that trends. Again, we haven't put too much more into this because, there's the idea that we'll know more as time goes on about our enrollment. Next, I wanted to just go through some other objectives and some things that we're working on and highlight those for you. So another objective or area that we're focused on is in the area of communications. We believe that there's such a good story to tell here, but it's our story to tell. So we're trying to make sure that we get that out. We're also working on the district webpage. It's functional, but you'll see it's very non-linear. So I don't know how all of you are, but sometimes you're on a website and you get down to like that fifth click, and that's where you want to be, and it's hard to get back that path. This website will be non-linear, so you can get to places or certain landing pages multiple ways. Branding is another issue that we're looking at. We want to make sure that everything that we represent, especially as we grow and scale, is ready. So colors, font, how we're labeling things. So branding is all going to be a part of that, and we have a separate company we're working with on this. Some of this will be rolled out later, but I wanted to tell you what the big picture ideas are. One of the things that we've been doing is inviting, people into the schools and trying to get the school board members have been certainly in the schools a lot. Mayor's been there, and I want to invite all of you at some point. We'll be reaching out to all of you, Sean and your administrative team, to try and come out to the schools. If you had a couple minutes to read a book or just come tour, we'd really like to welcome you. And police chief's been there quite a bit. It's been great to have his presence as well too. So we appreciate the partnership. Another area we're focused on is policies and governance. Nothing really too exciting there, but very important. So we're really just going through and looking at all of our board policies, and we're looking at all of the administrative guidelines that go along with that. There's also some extra projects that come in line there, and I would put the General Miles Estate under that, under some policies and provisions we're working on. We've had a great partnership with the city, Mayor. Sean's been there, so we appreciate the partnership, and we continue to do that work. That's been place it's been going on for over 60 years, I believe. So a lot of work there, but we really appreciate the partnership. Next, we have instruction and teaching and learning. One of the things you'll hear us talk more about is aligning the grades 7 through 12 curriculum. We're focused on what we call the 3 E's. And this is something that you'll see in schools a lot of times, but it really focuses on enrollment, employment, or enlistment. And what we're trying to do is get all of our students in 7th grade focused on one of those pathways. Just like in any other curriculum, the moment we think about anything after high school. So that can be a 2-year college, 4-year college, some kind of specialization school, culinary arts. Employment is actually reverse engineering and working with employers. It's still early in this process, but we've been telling the employers that we're open to this, is to reverse engineer back into the curriculum. Rather than have a student take the normal cadence of math, is there something that they need for technician, let's say, for example. Very similar with the career tech programs do, and we work very closely. I've had a long relationship with C-Tech and Joyce Malini specifically. And the last one is an enlistment. We still have some students who are desires to go into the military, so we want to make sure that, again, kind of reverse engineer that into what are military recruiters looking for, and what can we do, especially in your junior and senior year, to help you get ready for that. STEAM is an area of focus that kind of wraps inside of all this, but certainly you see the district has a long history of Project Lead the Way. That's certainly related to that, so we're going to be looking more at science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. So certainly more we can do there to enhance. And then lastly, we're just focused on curriculum alignment with all this too. We're literally looking at every series we have from kindergarten through 12, and we're trying to make sure everything is articulated. So this year we're focused on math. That was the objective that the board wanted to focus on. Next year will be English language arts and literacy. We've already started somewhere in that work, but by the next school year we expect to have a new math series adopted for the school district from K to 12 that's all vertically aligned. And then again, let's say next year is English language arts. The last area we have there is resources. A lot of things we're doing there. School safety is an area. We've had a safety assessment conducted. We're working close with interim chief. We've actually done some work already on talking about active shooter drills. Some work that we're looking at late this spring, even into early next school year. You're probably aware, but as public schools, we have to work with the Department of Homeland Security, and we put plans together. It's certainly nice to partner, though, and look at this, because we don't want to think about things that, we don't want to happen, but we have to be prepared at many levels. So it's been Chief and then Fire Captain Josh Martell and some others we've been working with. So we're looking forward to some more of that continued work. Community partnerships is something that we're also looking at, and, kind of mentioned it already, but more that we can partner, I think more that we can align as a community. That's certainly been welcomed. We're trying to welcome in the businesses as well, so they can understand more about what the schools do. And again, some of this goes hand in hand when you think about reverse engineering curriculum and things that we can do. working on our 5-year forecast. You know, all public schools required to put a 5-year forecast together. One of the things we're doing is even going out further. Some of that is looking at 10, 15, maybe even 20 years, and it gets a little murky, you know, the further out you go. But thinking about from a capital assets plan, you know, when vehicles are expire, boilers, all kinds of stuff like that. So we're looking at that. And last is we have some levies. We have a levy that's an income tax that's due to expire in 2023, and then we also have an emergency. We don't like that word, but that's the word that the states always use. So it's just basically renewal of an existing tax that we have, and that expires in 2024. So the board has to take 2 actions. They've taken 1 action already to put both levies on the in front of the electorate coming up here in May. So the community will see it on the ballot. But there's a second action that the board's expected to vote on, and then that'll make it official, and we'll get everything submitted. We're in that initial phase and get the first phase submitted. I don't want to understate the levies. Those are very important to us. And one of the things that people often ask is, well, what about Intel? What about all the business? We all know it's not here yet. And, the good thing on both of these renewals of these levies is we're only looking for 5 years, because we think, who knows, because what will happen with all the business exactly. But, we want to make sure we're prepared. So we're not asking for 10 or even permanent, where you sometimes see. But I do want to underscore again, the levies are important. The income tax, you might be surprised, but it generates $4.9 million of our budget. And again, that expires this year. And then the emergency levy, as they call it, is $2.2 million. Next, we just have a slide that reminds you of all of our social media platforms, so you can see what's there. We have Facebook, Twitter now, YouTube, and Instagram. We've had YouTube for some time, but we've certainly enhanced that. And then I'm happy to answer any questions. And we actually have a nice picture that you may have seen already, but the mayor came out to the schools. We were able to get him involved with the kids a little bit. And like I said, invitations coming to all of you, certainly before the end of the year. So anything we can answer, Mr. Schwager, I are here to answer any questions or address any concerns the council may have.
Do you guys have any questions?
I have a comment, Mr. Mayor.
Do it, yeah.
I've said this in any meeting that I've been in, that the children that are in your schools, the children in the community organization, the children we hope to provide a great town to live in are the same kids. Historically, there's been some separation between the groups that are trying to advocate for these kids. Anecdotally, because that's pretty much all the information I can offer at this point, it seems that has come together. And I'm encouraged by it between the school board, the school systems, the council, the local groups, seem to be all singing from the same hymnal, if you will. And I think you have a lot to do with that, or at least from your position, to encourage that growth and that community working together, and I think that's wonderful. And I thank you for that, and hope we can continue to build that relationship, because it's all the same community. We all have our specializations as far as what we're trying to get done, but it's all the same folks we're trying to take care of. And it's positive, and I thank you for your efforts, and the boards.
No, thank you. That really is a concerted effort on behalf of the board. When this was all coming together, prospects of me leaving my last district and coming here was all very thoughtful. And we did a lot of conversations and, looking at this, and that's very much a concerted effort. We want to make sure, because we are a community and we have to show that. And I do think if we faction off, then that's going to, make it harder for everything else. So
Sitting in this seat, having kids in the schools, being involved in the community, I feel that working group coming together, and I expect great things. So good.
thank you. It's been great on our end as well, too. So we expect that, and we'll continue it.
One thing Dr. Wagner and I discussed in a recent meeting was, I think it's very important for the city, the zoning, that we work with the schools and anticipate what they can handle for growth as we build the city. We don't want to overbuild too quickly, that the schools cannot handle that. And we have to put trailers, other items out there where kids are going to have to learn, and not the institutions that were built for them. But try to work with the schools to see what they can handle each year when we look at housing growth, when we look at all this other growth, so that we do it together as one and not as separate entities. So.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. The question was asked is, do we have a ceiling in terms of the enrollment for the school district? We don't. We're here to serve, and that's what we really focus on. So we want to continue to work closely. We know there's going to be growth, but any kind of steady plan for growth where we can manage not only the facilities, but the financing of that as well, too, because one can get in front of the other too quickly, and then you're going to, it can be trailers, and that can impact the teaching and learning program. It can be increased taxes, and we certainly don't want that if we can. So as much as these projects can fund, or we can try to, we're going to focus on that. The other thing we've talked about long-range planning is looking at a compensation agreement too, and some things that we can work together. As you know, the Ohio Revised Code provides a base for that, but I'd rather see us, and I know the board does too, if we can have an agreement so that when more development occurs, you know what the expectations are and you can represent that, and that'll make negotiations go a lot faster. So we're prepared for that. Future discussion, at least the four of us are going to be relatively soon and try and tackle a couple of these issues, and I know that's one of the items on our agenda.
And it's your former school district you had that agreement with?
Correct. We have multiples. We have one with New Albany, one with Pataskala, started in Jersey on some of that, so. But yeah, those are very helpful when you're, when an NDA comes forward and, they're going to want to know, okay, what's this like and what are the prospects. You want to be able to have a good perspective on what you can represent for the school. So hopefully we can get to there, but I'm confident we can.
Anybody else?
Thank you again for everything.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Save the tough questions for Mr. Swager. By the way, I'm going to leave at 8 if not sooner, because my wife and I have to get a car to service.
We'll leave it at 8 as well.
Okay. And you were going to drive me to get my car to service, wasn't that it?
Yeah, absolutely. I had to drive you, I think it was. Yeah.
Next on the agenda is action on minutes from November 15th, 2022. Is there any questions on those minutes? Do I have a motion to accept them?
Make the motion.
Brian, Nicole?
Brian, I'll second.
Cool.
I thought I heard.
My voice got low.
Okay.
It was low.
Charlie Campbell,
Yes.
Nicole Shook,
Yes.
Bob Orsini,
Yes.
John Merriman.
Yes.
Mayor Bernard.
Yes.
Brian Green.
Yes.
Okay, we received a correspondence. It was a thank you note from Father Stephen Smith on behalf of the people of the Church of the Ascension. It says, "Dear members of Johnstown City Council, I want to thank you on behalf of the congregation for your willingness to assist us with space to celebrate Mass after the flood in our church on Christmas Eve. Your willingness to assist us in our time of need is very much appreciated. May God bless you in your work leading the people of the city of Johnstown." I think a big thank you goes to Councilman Bob Orsini, who did a lot for that. He got this room back in great shape, and it looked better than when they got it, so.
Well, you all have my appreciation as well. I got the call at about 3:30. I called a few folks that I thought might be in town. Sean was coming back from the band trip in Florida. He returned my call. It was Jack's birthday. He responded back to me. Fortunately, Jim Blair lives in my neighborhood. He had a key, so within 15 minutes, we had access. And, you don't have to answer your phones. You don't have to respond, and you did, and it's much appreciated. And it went from no celebration for our church to, I think we had 3 masses in here, 2 on Christmas Eve and 1 on Christmas Day. And it was a good opportunity for my family to learn a little bit about giving back, because we were up here on Christmas Day, putting it back up, vacuuming, cleaning up, and, showing our appreciation by putting in a little good work. So you have my thanks too, as well.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is citizen comments on matters not on the agenda. Before I go to the public, I wanted to read an email. Council decided last week, there was a question brought up in this section last week on on what City Manager Sean Stainert could and could not do in regards to property he owns and to zoning. We reached out to our attorney. I'm going to read you the email. The short answer is that the city manager or city council person would not be prohibited from discussing or participating in matters that would provide a general uniform benefit to the citizens with monetary benefit or detriment to property in which they have an interest, such as that the public official's independence or judgment can be impaired. Stated differently, in our terms, if the city manager or a council person benefit the same as with other constituents, there is no issue. It is not enough to merely identify some indirect or indirect benefit. As it related specifically to the situation, we discussed the ownership of property within a zoning district that is being amended. The proposed zoning change in and of itself only has the possibility of creating some indirect or indefinite benefit at best. For that reason, I do not see any ethical concerns. I've attached an Ohio Ethics Commissionary advisory opinion as well as the info sheet that provides more on the overview. So if anybody would like that, I can get that to you, but that is the legal ruling on that. Any questions from anyone here on that? Okay. So we'll go to citizen comments on matters not on the agenda. Does anyone in the public have anything tonight they would like to bring up? Go ahead, sir.
Hello, my name's Bruce Toll. I live here in town. Anyway, I want to compliment the new council, shall we say. Because, you know, I've been to a lot of council meetings in the past, and I noticed a lot of times the council members basically, in many cases, would have a conversation among themselves, but anybody in the audience couldn't have any idea what they were saying. And so I want to say I have been able to hear everything you've said, fine. So that's a compliment to you. I keep doing it. It really was irritation. I always sit in the front of a room because if I'm going to go to the trouble of being someplace, I don't want to be back there. I want to be up so I know what's going on. But even sitting in the front of the room in the past, there have been an awful lot of conversations between the council members themselves, and I had a hell of a time hearing it. I got good hearing aids. That's all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else? Okay, we are going to move, or I need a motion to move to executive session with the city law director to discuss pending or imminent court action. This should not take very long at all, hopefully 10, 15 minutes, and we will be back in here, but I need a motion to move forward.
So moved.
I'll second.
Olshook.
Yes.
Aberthini.
Yes.
John Merriman.
Yes.
Mayor Barnard.
Yes.
Ryan Green.
Yes.
Charlie Campbell.
Yes.
And we will be right back.
Get that new cushy job.
Okay, we're returning back to regular session. Good to go?
Yeah.
Okay. Next on the agenda tonight is council committee reports. Planning and zoning met 1/10/23. The next one is 1/24/2023, and I have notes for that meeting. Hold on one second.
I can sum it up if you want.
Go ahead while I look for them.
So to give you a summary of the planning and zoning meeting, we went ahead with some spare time that we had and basically just talked about the year in review. And everybody got to, it was a turbulent year, so we kind of had to do some housekeeping as far as how that works. I think it was good. I think they're going to have some work sessions that came out of that and try to shore up some holes and work on a few things. Teresa, do we have any time in the schedule that would be better for that? We don't have to do it right now, but,
Whenever the committee members can meet.
okay.
It used to be at 10 a.m. on a weekday.
Yeah, because it was like a Friday, it was like a Friday morning usually.
So what works for the three of the,
But I'm pretty wide open, whatever you guys, whatever works best. We can keep it Friday, we can do it on a Friday at like 9 or 10.
Who's all on it?
I can't do Friday
Me,
mornings.
Bob, and Nicole.
I can't do Friday mornings.
What works?
Any other morning but Friday?
Okay.
I'm being quite honest with you. I have a big meeting on Friday morning, so.
Okay. If you want to pick like a Thursday morning, we could do
Tuesday?
that. Tuesday or Thursday. Yeah,
Thursday.
Tuesdays are better because we usually have a meeting. but
Thursday's no good.
Yeah, Tuesday mornings are fine.
What time you looking
Okay.
at?
10,
10's fine.
10,
Earlier the better usually, but 10 works.
9's fine. You want 9?
Let's do 9.
Okay, 9's fine.
Yeah. No?
Okay.
Which Tuesday? Which one you gonna start on?
I'll stick up for Teresa, because she won't. I will bring it up.
Teresa, what works the best?
Teresa comes in later on Tuesday because she sometimes stays later in the evening.
We're gonna keep it as needed, but we're gonna go with. Can we go with next Tuesday?
let me check.
I can check my schedule too.
We'll keep it an as needed, but this time we can do it Tuesday.
10 a.m. here.
Yeah, it'll be here. Yep.
10?
Do you have an
Is 10
agenda?
better?
10's good.
Okay.
We're gonna talk about
So you were looking at next Tuesday?
24th?
24th.
We good on it?
I think so far I'm good. You're wanting at 10?
Yeah.
It's just, we're discussing Dora and the food truck ordinance.
Yep.
Those are the two.
Yep. We'll probably try to maybe set some goals for the year of things to talk about too.
Okay. Okay, so that's done. Design Review Board met 1/10/23. Next one is Valentine's Day. It's a date night for you, Ryan.
It's gonna be a date night for me. That's sad.
Anything from that meeting?
Same deal. So we all met together.
Okay, well, you guys met, they had a meeting before that, correct?
Oh, they did, yeah. They got, I didn't go to that one, but they got Chase Bank squared away.
That one's
as-
done?
As I understand, yeah.
That is done. If you want to see the rendering, I can pull it up while we're kind of moving on, and then I can come
Yeah,
back to it.
that'd be great.
I'll-
Yeah.
I'll-
Let's
I'll
do
get
that.
stuff,
Okay.
see if I can pull it.
Safety and Service is meeting on February 7th, 5 PM Council Chambers. Finance met today. Our next meeting is November 21st. We really have nothing to come out of that meeting today, and the meeting tonight. But he would like me to read that a large group meeting on the 19th at 5:30 PM, either in council chambers or administrative office. It's going to be between the city, the police department, fire department, Johnstown, or downtown Johnstown schools, and JYAA. The date of the fireworks has moved to Sunday, July 2nd, based on a change in vendor availability. So Sunday, July 2nd. And nothing about the event has been formally posted or shared via Facebook, but wanted to ensure the final date was updated based on the minutes approved. So that was Ben's notes on the events committee. Rules committee, we need to get something scheduled. Do you have any dates in mind?
Have to try to fill it back in. We can share calendars.
Okay.
See who's going.
Not Tuesday, the 24th at 10 a.m.
Yes.
Other than that, I'm good.
That day's in.
Okay, we will try to get you something tomorrow for that one, Teresa. Okay. Next on the agenda is director reports, or wait, do you have anything yet, Sean?
No, I haven't got it yet. so-
Okay, we'll come back to you. Next on the agenda tonight is director reports, Chief of Police Rusty Smart.
Training for December, we We completed all of our CPT trainings. We also did an 8-hour block, most of the officers along with clerk of ward, to do our New World CAD. Our go live is January 31st. Social media, we have reached around 31,000 people, post engagements over 12,000, 118 new followers, and we're approaching almost 6,000 followers on our social media. Patrol fleet is, our total miles within the city was 3,978, idle for 271, total engine time was almost 533 miles per shift with a daily average drive time of 1 hour and 51 minutes. Our police department had a lot of board, a number of individuals were, Officer Hoare and Officer Lopez were sworn in by the mayor, and they will be completing their FTO program, and they will be out single by themselves with our schedule and vacation leave. They'll be out on the road by themselves around mid-February. Santa Parade and the photo here with Cindy Lou Who and the Grinch that joined us that event. I also provided with the December statistics, and I also provided the council, I know a number of people have reached out to me in reference to the number of accidents that have occurred, where they've occurred at, so now the city has an understanding of where those are at. Just know that this is what the final on our CAD system reads. So if there's an accident somewhere, the final, based off the officer where he clears it, he's gonna, or she's going to state that that's where the clearance occurred and the accident occurred, would be possibly at that address or in front of that address. I was able to include some 2021 numbers in our stats and compare them to 2022. Moving forward, the stats that I've been presenting to City Council for the month, or for 2022, those are the stats that I will continue. If there's anything that you guys would like me to add, I can do that. World, it's gonna be based off of what I can actually access and what I can get to once we go live, and that'll be January 31st, and we hope it's gonna be a smooth transition from one CAD to another. And also, I wanted to let council know that as far as the CAD, I have clerk of ward and Officer Fife, who has in the past taken care of our records. They will be working to archive our last 2 years that we worked with the CAD system. We are paying currently a month for our CAD, $650 a month to that company. And I'm going to make it to where we don't have to pay that company that amount moving forward for at least 7 years for that archiving service for public record requests. So a number of overtime hours have been generated by those, mostly by Officer Fife. But I just wanted to let council know that I'm trying to take, instead of paying a company like New World, who's 2 to 3 years out, to archive our last 2 years of numbers and generated reports, they will be able to archive it internally, and in turn save our city thousands upon thousands of dollars. So I wanted to make sure that council knows that there is some overtime, but it is for that reason.
Go ahead.
No, absolutely, go ahead.
Couple questions. Of the 2022 statistics, which one are you most concerned about for our city going forward?
As far as the 2022, I don't
Yep.
see any issues as far as anything uptick that we as a police department need to be concerned with. I noticed the only transition was our accidents from 2021 to 2022. It is lower. We no longer take private property accidents because at the time that we spend to do those accidents is basically just working for the insurance companies, so we're not wasting our time. There's no citation given. We're basically just being the middle person for the insurance companies, unless there's somebody harmed or injured and they need a medical attention or there's major amount of damage, we wouldn't be involved with a private property accident. Also with our parking citations, 2021 to 2022, we had a huge uptick in that, and mostly it's because we felt that based on the residents here, they're not gonna be wanting to be that neighbor that complains about a parking issue. So we as a police department took that on our own shoulders. We've received numerous amounts of complaints because we are enforcing that parking issue instead of it just sitting. So that's why there is an uptick there, which I think it's a good uptick because like I said, you don't want to be the neighbor calling and complaining about a parking issue Normally, they don't make that phone call. As far as everything else, I don't have any issues moving forward.
A question on that with the parking. Do you guys automatically stop and cite someone if they're parked on the sidewalk, like parallel with the sidewalk, like they're, both wheels are
If they
on?
pulled in the driveway and.
Not if they're pulled in the driveway blocking it, but if they're parked
On the sidewalk.
on the sidewalk?
Typically, we do.
Okay, I was just curious. Charlie, you have a question?
I got a question. As much as I hate to always bring this up, 16 of them, what are you, just briefly, what are you guys doing to interact with that and trying to help to maybe bring that number down? I mean, you know, are you in the programs, or do you have something like that going on?
Yeah, so every other year I go and I get,
Is that a
they will
Narcan kit?
provide- Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay.
And I've also reached out with Pastor Van Winkle at his church, I think about 3 months ago. I provided him with some Narcan kits. He's going to have a location within his church that people that if they have that issue or they know of people that go to that church can have those kits as well.
Do you have access to someone that can talk to someone that's threatening suicide? Like you go there and they won't listen to you because you're a police officer, but you might listen to somebody else. Do you have someone that you call?
Typically not on a scene like that. We would reach out in the past. Those type of people have already had issues and they have somebody that they can contact, and if we can get them on the line, then we will. And if they are involved in a suicidal incident and they've actually threatened serious harm to themselves or others, they would then be treated at typically Licking Memorial Hospital.
Okay.
And they would, if they're not willing to volunteer to go, they would be taken by us.
Do you practice safety with that? I mean,
Yes,
those are
everybody. in the
really
police
dangerous
department-
situations, I know.
So everybody in the police department goes through 40 hours. It's Crisis Intervention Team, CIT. It's held by Licking Knox County, and we all are engaged in that. And there's only one officer, I believe, that has not received that, and she will be receiving it this year.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you for those questions, Charlie. Yes.
Chief Smart, near and dear to my heart because my kids cross 37 every day to go to school. Last week, there was the collision with the red pickup into the back of it wasn't a school bus, but it was a school transportation unit that appears to be a school bus. It was a major collision. That hood was caved in. To me, that is medical or distracted. I'm very concerned about the uptick of traffic through town, through 37, and distracted drivers, and the potential for a tragedy to happen there, out of town, and slows down coming through. An example that comes to me, I haven't driven through Granville in years, but my brother and my wife all went to Denison, and we knew when you drive through Granville, if you're going 27 miles an hour, you're getting a ticket. I mean, it was widely known, and it was just kind of the vibe that got created. If there's anything we can do to set a precedent for folks, I don't know if that would have solved this instance. Individual situations can't necessarily trend out, but with kids crossing that street and more development coming that will be walkers to the school, I just want to make sure we're doing everything we can to try to prevent that, because it'll be a loss of life, is my guess, when that happens, if it happens, God forbid. But just pointing it out because, like I said, my kids cross, and it's always front and center for me.
So being an officer that's worked here for a long time, whenever I tell somebody where I work and how long I've worked there, they always end up saying, well, that's a speed trap. So as far as what
good.
the state is, there was a bill, I think, that's in its first reading, and it's a distracted driving. They spoke about it at the chief's meeting this past week, and it was going to incorporate some type of distracted driving, cell phone usage while
I
driving.
did see they're looking to move it to primary offense.
Yeah.
So,
So
That
now
should help,
whenever I'm at a
but-
stoplight or, wherever I might see them and they're doing this, and I openly look over at them and they're just like, yeah, you can't do anything about it, that is gonna change.
Awesome.
Mr. Mayor, I have questions. I'm looking at the 2022 accident reports, and I'm just calculating, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. The Main Street, Coshocton, I'm assuming that's whenever the semi hits a
So
bell.
that's where you're gonna have an uptick every time a semi hits the bell, that's an
Okay.
accident report. It generates an accident report because there was property damage to that truck that caused us to have a report. So that's why,
Do we issue a violation
Yes, and I noticed that a lot of people think that we generate a massive amount of revenue from the stop sign, or from
Semis get.
semis striking the bell. It is a sidewalk, driving on the sidewalk, and it's $129.
And fix the belt.
The bell
And-
doesn't
and
have to
I'll-
be fixed.
I'll maybe go back.
Concrete, I mean.
Well, it's not big, because they need, that one
Literally
needs painted.
So it's 100 and how much?
Yeah.
$129. It's our lowest amount unless they've received,
I was just gonna ask,
unless it's their second offense within 12 months.
I was just gonna ask, what is
Generate
it?
to a higher number, but typically it's just gonna be driving on sidewalks at $129.
Is there any failure to control? I'm just throwing this out there. I know there's an awful lot of officer time that's spent down there for $129. I don't feel like we recoup the amount of time and manpower that we put into it. So my concern is that we modify things to appropriately at least recoup a break-even point. So is there another methodology that we could use other than driving on the sidewalk as far as failure to control, or anything else that you could recommend that would be legal? So that we could obviously
It's something
increase
I
the
can look
fine,
into.
and I'm not trying
The
to,
ordinances.
okay. Trying to be a money grab, but I don't wanna lose money.
Semi-drivers, they're gonna have an attorney, and things are gonna end up fine amounts, because I don't believe that they've been looked at in the last probably 4 to 5 years. And I am assuming that our 129 is probably the lowest in the county. But that's something that I want to generate some comparable numbers on what that is.
At least 16 out of your total violations for the entire year, so
Yeah, but not every single one of those is going to be semi.
I would agree.
And I will say that that's the way, so that they take that turn, because they continue to turn, and I worked with their company. Took me a while to get up the ladder, but I worked with them to try to make it to where they can just continue straight through, go through ALEC, and make their right on
Absolutely.
161.
Our objective is not to generate revenue, it's to create safety, and then also to allow for the traffic to
Even if it
generate
was
through
two
that
tickets-
intersection as best as possible.
Even if it was 2 tickets at 129, the amount of time
Oh, for
and
sure.
the people that are affected, because sometimes in the past, it's shut down all of West Coshocton Street.
Oh, it's
where
a
nobody
nightmare.
can even go east or west.
Yeah.
So the money is not worth it. If we can prevent it, is the best.
Absolutely.
The fine at a minimum, we should make as whole, right? I mean, it should have a deterrent effect to some degree. So
Well,
when you look at those fines,
The deterrent effect is, if we call out Jay's Towing, you're looking at least $500 that they are getting, but those trucks are also like $300,000 or $400,000, so you're basically paying for a truck. So on top of the 129, on top of the points on the license, on top of the Jay's Towing or heavy equipment, whatever company we get out to lift them off the bell, literally, they are probably over.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I think the
I can
officer
agree
spends
with
at least
that,
an hour
but
out
I
there.
mean, I can clear one in 45 minutes to an hour, or it just depends on where they're at, so to help or assist me. Or depending where they're at and how long it'll take, I can be out there for hours and shut it off.
Is part of that, because if you look at the complaints, are you guys, or can you enforce the stop bar, violating the stop bar? Because
So.
I know that's part of the issue.
I was gonna work with Jack, because I think now in the future, like now, 2023, I think that we possibly can push that back. But ultimately, just because it's back doesn't mean people aren't gonna go forward. And enforcing that at that busy of an intersection is very difficult, because the enforcement on that is basically going to be worse safety concern if I do that enforcement than if there's past that stop bar to begin with, if you can understand what I'm saying.
I understand what you're saying, but that seems to be part of the problem.
I don't know that, in the past, ODOT has been in charge of those lines. Now, I don't know that now we, as a city, are in charge of those lines, and if we are, my recommendation is to pull them back a little bit. I tried to get them to do it the last time before they painted it, and they said, well, we gotta go right over the lines that we already have, so I tried.
Mr. Mayor,
'cause that one's not
to answer maybe some of your questions, I did have a conversation with Matt Hill this last week at a LCATS meeting. Not probably next month, but maybe the month after that. They would like to do a presentation specifically with this particular intersection. There has been some engineering studies that have been done and maybe some recommendations.
Okay, that'd be great.
that You all could explore. It would just be him giving a conversation and then decide where you want to go from there. But that'll be something that you'll see in the next probably month and a half, is what I told Matt Hill. He is the Hellcats.
Okay.
So,
For the next meeting, can you?
One more question, then I'm sorry.
If I can ask, this, for the next meeting, can you provide us with the five most dangerous or 5 most dangerous areas in town for where accidents occur?
Greenville Mill's high on that list.
I don't know if you can do that from your system, but that way we can see where the 5 areas are, so that maybe we can start looking into the future. These are areas we want to address. Is that possible?
Yeah, I mean, all I gotta do is add up each one and figure out which one of the top 5, that's all.
Okay. Charlie, go ahead.
I'm not saying that a truck would, but how if a truck would crush the curb coming around or crush the sidewalk when they're going across that bell and they crushed it? Is that on the owner of the business, or is that on them for the truck? Do you ever check for that? I mean, I'm just asking, I don't know,
So I guess you're asking for repayment after an accident?
Right, so you
Yes.
crushed the sidewalk, somebody's gotta fix it.
The
Yes,
damager-
Okay, so,
The damager, if they're cited.
Right.
We provide that document, we provide the accident report to Jack. Jack then reaches out to the insurance company, and maybe he
okay,
can speak on that, but that's typically what we do in the past. If there's damage to not just the sidewalk, because I don't think we've ever really, basically if the pedestrian poles, that's what we would be seeking
Okay.
repayment for.
I just wondered, because those things are pretty heavy.
They are, and continued driving over it would break the sidewalk or
Right.
break the curbing down. But generally what the insurance coverage is for is to replace the ped pole, because once they get on the bell, they've also hit the cross. They just keep going, and then we'll get a call, ped pole's knocked down. And we actually had one that didn't stand for 30 minutes. We replaced it, put it up, and it was knocked down again within 30 minutes. So people ask, where the bell? Why the bell? It causes trouble. Well, actually it doesn't. It's a safety measure, keeps people off the sidewalks, and it stops the truck. So if they've hit the ped pole, we can get the insurance bill to the right people and cover it.
Because in the past, those people would hit them, keep going,
Oh, keep
the
going.
city was
They'll do it
paying the
now.
cost.
I mean, they'll still do it now. I mean,
If they can get off the bell.
if they can get off the bell.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's